going to say hello to everybody? Oh, thank you. So what we're doing today? Is that it? You're going now? You fed up? So today I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I have a page, broken, so it's already got bits of glue stuck to it. So this is a page that I did. I just put some colour down and some bits and pieces on it, just so it wouldn't be a blank page. So I'm going to create an art journal page now out of scraps, bits and pieces that are lying around, but I've got no idea what I'm going to do. So it's going to be a voyage of discovery. So I've grabbed some book text pages from my stash and I'm just deciding whether to stick them down as a whole or tear them up and stick them into pieces, which I eventually go for. So I'm just going to tear up the pages into blocks and smaller pieces so that I have a nice selection of different sizes, both horizontal and vertical. And then I'm going to grab some matte medium that was sent to me recently in Happy Mail from my mysterious benefactor known only as D. And this is the ROWNEY Simply Acrylic Matte Medium. So I've added some generous portions of the matte medium onto the page, and I'm just going to randomly start sticking down the blocks of book text all over the double page spread. So the whole process of covering this double page spread takes around about 10 minutes, but I'm not going to bore you to death letting you sit there and watch me do it. So I'll show you a little bit and then I'll jump to where it's almost complete. There you go. Time flew by, didn't it? So once I've got enough of the book text stuck down onto the pages, I'm going to bring out my heat gun and then I'm going to just give it a nice gentle dry. But because I've never actually shown the heat gun, I'm going to do it now. So there you go. It's the Heat It tool from Ranger Ink and I've got the black version. Next up I have some Steam Whistle Grey paint from INDIGOBLU. This is a brand new pot. This was one of the tester pots. I'm not even sure whether this has gone into full production yet, but it's due out very, very soon. It's part of their Junk and Disorderly range. And this is the 12-inch HARLEQUIN stencil from PRIMA. So as I said earlier, I have absolutely no idea where this art journal page is going, what the prompt or the quote or any of the elements for the page is going to be. I'm just literally looking around to see what I have to hand, what hasn't been put away, what's sticking out from underneath pieces of paper, and I'm going to use whatever I see lying around my craft room to create this page. So that's the grey diamonds on the page. I'm just going to bring up the heat gun, make sure it's all nice and dry before moving on. So next I'm going to unify the entire page by giving it a thin wash of white gesso. This is the white GESSO Good from INDIGOBLU, and I'm just going to go over the entire page, just adding some white gesso all over, just so I have all that texture and all those patterns in the background start to fade right back into the background. And of course, once I'm happy with the amounts of gesso on the page, bearing in mind that it will dye back, so it's not going to be as bright white as this, I'm going to just give it a heat blast, make sure it's all nice and dry before adding some colour. So the first piece of colour was the first NEOCOLOR that I pulled out from the pot, which is an olive colour. So this is a kind of darkish green. Now I'm going to activate the NEOCOLOR not with a bit, well I am going to use a baby wipe, but I'm going to use my or the nearly dry brush technique for this. So I have a baby wipe and I have a paintbrush which I'm just grabbing from my pot, and I'm just going to dampen the brush with the baby wipe and then activate the NEOCOLOR on the page with that damp brush. So it's not wet and it's not dry, it's just somewhere in between. So because the olive green is a kind of dark green, I decided I wanted to add some blue. So I looked for a dark blue. So I have the Prussian blue NEOCOLOR 2, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this on the page. So adding the colour to the page, and then using the nearly dry brush, I'm going to just activate it onto the page. So I'm happy with the colour there as it is, but I think it is quite strong. So this time I decided to add some yellow. So I've got the dark gold NEOCOLOR. So rather than use the damp brush this time, I'm just going to activate this with the baby white that I've been using. Now, as you can see, it does start to blend and move some of the other colours on the page. So I decided to go all the way over the page and just try and blend the colours in a little bit more. So you'll see me dabbing and mopping and just generally moving the colours until I'm happy. So when I am happy, out comes the heat gun. Let's get it completely set and dry, which then makes the NEOCOLORs permanent. So next I wanted to add a pop of colour. So I pull out the Carmine Red NEOCOLOR 2 and I just start to add some flicks of that red colour onto the page. So I'm adding the water to the NEOCOLOR itself and then just flicking with the edge of the brush. Then I decided I want some larger droplets of the colour adding, so I add a little bit more water and flick from the brush, and then I get my pot of water and then start adding a large amount of water to create some very larger droplets that I'm going to do in a diagonal pattern from the top left to the bottom right. Because these larger droplets are mostly water, it's going to take quite a while for me to dry these, so I decided to use the heat gun and then just let it dry on its own. So I stop the camera and then go and make a cup of tea, because what else would you do while you're waiting for paint to dry? So it's about half an hour later. I've drunk the tea and shared a biscuit with Mr. Bentley, and out comes my number 5 PIGMA MICRON black archival ink pen. And as you can see, I'm just going to do some wavy scribbly lines from the top left to the bottom right. So this will now join all those globules of red together. So in my mind, I envisaged joining all these big globules of red together in a kind of cosmic string. The sort of image that you get on visualizations on science programs where they show theories on cosmic string or kind of molecules and how all the particles and energy interact with each other. That's kind of the image that I've got in my head while I'm drawing this, and I kind of think it fits. And it's round about this time while I'm creating the page that the phrase cause and effect popped into my head, because really I'm reacting to what's on the page, so the effects that I'm achieving are literally down to the cause of the way the paint has landed and the way the colours have blended onto the page. But again, it fits that kind of cosmic karma cause and effect, the kind of cosmic string quantum theory kind of thing that this kind of page evokes in my mind anyway. I'm not really making much sense, but you know, what can you expect? I'm a man. So I'm going to carry on building up those squiggly lines around my molecule globules on the page, but Obviously it's a repetitive process, so I'll just carry on doing this for another 5 or 6 times, and then I'll jump to the point where I'm ready to add my little title for the page. So to add the title of cause and effect, I'm going to use my LETRA tag label maker. I'm just typing out the words, I'm just going to print them off, and because it's self-adhesive, the job's done for me. All I have to do is just to cut the words out and then decide where on the page I'm going to put them. So I'm going to attempt to try and stick these down straight. Now it's quite difficult when you're trying to place something down like this without getting your head in the shot. So you can't really lean over to make sure that you've got it completely straight, because otherwise you'd be staring at the back of my head. So I do have 2 or 3 attempts at getting these or getting it as straight as I possibly can. And then once I've got that one straight down on the page, I can just use that as a guide for the last word. So now I have them stuck down, I thought that they needed to be incorporated into my cosmic ripples. So I decided to grab the pen again and this time go around and start incorporating the 2 word blocks with some more of those squiggly lines, just to kind of incorporate them into the composition of the page and to show that they are totally enclosed within or without, whatever. So once my squiggly, wiggly, timey, wimey lines have been put in, I decide that's it. I'm not going to do any more. So just signed it and dated it, and then I'm going to call this page done. So, who knew that's where it would lead me? It's strange how the mind and the imagination and how it connects things. So when you see things on the page, they kind of take on a life of their own. So almost exactly like cause and effect. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, just give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking that button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I will see you all again in a few days. Bye for now. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.